morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on what time or where my video has hit you today. Today, let me go ahead and get this disclaimer out the way. Today is a kind of sensitive subject for some people when it comes to death and grieving. So if those are some hard points for you that brings a whole lot of sadness, I suggest you just go ahead and pass this video today. I hate to see you go, but I truly understand about the triggers that this may cause. Today, I'm going to remember a great memory. I am going to have a story time about a wonderful woman who is loving, a love like no other. I'm going to talk about a subject for me, and I'm only speaking for me. And I know that this subject is not always the case for everyone, but this is a subject for me. This is a subject that is very important to me. So as I've always said on my channel, we have to learn to agree to disagree. So there may be things that I say that you don't agree with, or you have not had a part of that, and I can understand that. But for this video, especially with this wonderful woman that I'm going to speak upon, I ask that you maintain your comments in a very respectable way. So stay tuned, and I'm gonna honor a memory for a woman that is well deserving of it. And so I'll catch you in a minute. So today is June 27th of 2021. And today I am going to honor my mother. Today marks 10 years since she was called home to be with the Lord. And today I want to talk about a mother's love. I want to honor her in so many ways. So today is about my mother, Della Beatrice Burks, born December 7th, 1955. I was blessed with an all-time wonderful mother. I was so lucky, so blessed, so grateful. So I know how a mother will always say that she was so lucky and blessed to have children. But for me, I'm the lucky and blessed one. I am so lucky and so blessed that God seemed fit for her to be my mother. My mother was my best friend. I didn't have to lie to my mother. I didn't have to pretend to be somebody that I wasn't. I was allowed to be who I was. Now, my mother ran a tight ship. She ran a tight one, but she loved her girls. She loved us both, my sister and I. And she believed in any dream that we believed in, she believed in it. It didn't matter what the dream was. She did anything she could to motivate us to always want to be in the dream or the field or whatever it is that we wanted to do. She always told us that we could reach for the stars. And she loved everybody. I think a lot of that is where I got that from. I can remember my mother opening her door for anybody and loving on people and always there for them, and always giving a child a hug and always motivating someone and always loving on someone. And she always knew the right words to say. She always knew how to be there for people. And along the way, she taught you how to be there for yourself. She taught you how to love yourself. She taught you how to get to know you. Like, when you get older in life, there are some people who are in their 40s and 50s and 30s, 20s. You know, when we're young and in our teens and early 20s, sometimes we don't know who we are. You know, and like I said before, this is me speaking on my personal experience and what I went through when it came to a mother's love. And when it comes to my mother, she taught us to learn who we were. She taught us to know who we are, never back down for who we are, always have the utmost and standard respect for yourself, knowing who you are. And she used to always say that if God loves you and I love you, that's all you need. I depended on my mother for everything because she was I don't know how other people look at their mother or their parents, but for me, when it came to my mother, she was my superhero. She could fight anything. And she could love the sadness right out of your heart, no matter what you were going through. She was just that mom. And her love had no boundaries. Her love just, it didn't come with a warranty. Her love was lifetime. It didn't matter what you were or who you were or what you did. She just loved you. And June 26, 2011, my life changed. And I used to think it changed for the worse. And now I realize it was a change in life that I had to go through. June 27, 2011, I got a phone call early in the morning from my mother. And she was in the hospital because she was a diabetic, and she was getting a wound cleaned because she had an amputee earlier that year. And she called, and we've always, as long as I can remember, watched the BET Awards together. This time she was in the hospital, so we talked about it over the phone. The next morning she called me and asked me did I have my bag packed, because I'm a mama's baby. So anytime my mama was in the hospital, I stayed there until she got out. So they were moving her into a same hospital, but a bigger one that can treat the wound infection that she had. And so I told her when I got off work that I would be there as always. And I had my bag packed. and we laughed, and we just did the things that we do on the phone every day. Every day. Being us. I had a late shift at the time. And at that time, I was still working at Red Cross. I had been at Red Cross probably now for about, at the time, I had probably been at Red Cross for about 8 years, maybe 9. And my sister called me and told me that our mother had passed away. Not even 4 hours had went by from our conversation earlier that day. And she was gone. My mother was my world. There was nothing that she wanted that I wouldn't give her. But it wasn't nothing that I needed, or it wasn't nothing that I couldn't lean on her of. So anything she wanted, I did everything in my power to give it to her. My mama has held my hand at night while I cried tears. My mother has wiped my face when I have been sick. Not as a child, but as an adult. Today marks 10 years, and to this day, I miss her constantly. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not here to tell anybody how to do anything. And that's my disclaimer. But as for me, holding on to my mother's love is what keeps me beating, what keeps me breathing. But the one thing about it for me, and like I said, this is my disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I didn't go to school for this. You know, they teach you to deal with death. They teach you to deal with the grief. But I think one thing about it is they don't teach you how, when you're dealing with the grief, you're dealing with the loss, you deal with the process of healing and moving on, moving forward without your loved one, but your loved one still in your heart. They don't prepare you for that day when that memory hits you like a ton of bricks, like it was the first day that happened. And it's like all your healing process is gone out the window and you start all back over. And they don't prepare you that the pain is still as great as the first day you felt that pain. The beautiful lady that you see in the background is my mother. A beautiful smile. Her spirit was wonderful. And she loved everybody. Never no judgment, never no cruelty. You hungry, she fed you. You sad, she hugged you. And when you need support, she was there for you. But the thing about my mother, she was selfless. Because if I had a friend that needed a hug, she gave it. If it was a neighbor that needed to be fed, she fed them. My mother taught me what it was to be a great human being. And she taught me that with being a great human being comes great honor, but great sacrifice. Because there are going to be times when you love people, and there's going to be times when you do things for people, and they're not going to do the same thing for you, or they wouldn't do the same thing for you. But my mother taught me it's not about them. The journey in life is always about you. One thing my mother taught me is she always used to say, your journey is your journey. And along the way of your journey, there are going to be some people that are going to mistreat you. There are going to be some people that are going to hurt you. And no, you're not perfect. And no, you will not always react the way that you should. But she said, don't let the things that people do to you erase the good things that you have done for people out the goodness and kindness of your heart. And I never really understood what she mean by that. But it was a couple of years after she had passed, and I was having one of my days where she came across my mind again, and I realized what she meant. On our journey, this is our journey. You're on a journey individually. And yes, there are of us that are married. There are of us that have children. But along the journey, we add people to our journey. But in the end, it's your journey. In the beginning, in the middle, it's still your journey. We add people along the way. And one thing about it, I truly knew what she meant when it's your journey. And nobody can dictate the journey that you're on. Because one thing in this world that we have learned, that you can do all the good things in this world, but one bad reaction is what they'll remember. They'll remember that one bad reaction before they'll remember all the good that you have done. Yes, later on, once the heat has died down from your bad reaction, some people will start to remember the good that you have done. So our mother taught us to know who we were, know ourselves, and know how to conduct ourselves in good and in bad situations. Because at the end of the day, your reaction is what people are waiting on. And the older I get, it's true. We can watch a TV show, we can watch a movie, a talk show, and when something big happens and something juicy go on, we're not looking at the one that is calm and trying to die down the situation. We're looking at the one who reacts. And when I finally got it, I do my best to still keep my head up high, even when I'm hurt, when somebody has done something to me or mistreat me, because everybody's looking at my reactions and not my actions. I know people keep an eye on you. I know people going to watch you. I know people wondering what is going on in life about you sometimes. But no matter what we do on this journey, some things we do are not going to ever be good enough for people. People will always judge us, and people will always comment on the life that we are living. And that's okay. But it's up to us to choose the reaction that we want to have with people when they come off rude and come off strong and come off arrogant and any other thing that people come off of that rubs us the wrong way. So that piece of advice, I hope it helps someone, because that loving lady that y'all see, she gave me that. And she gave me so much more. If I could say anything else about my mother, I can say that a mother's love was never missed in my situation. I loved her day in and day out. And I stood by my mother's side from the beginning to the end. But as I always say, having her for 29 years just was not long enough for me. I needed her another, at least till I was 50, maybe 60. But that wasn't God's plan. But through it all, and missing her being gone, but remembering her, I always have to thank God, because he gave me something so great. I got to tell my mother I love her. And I got to laugh on the phone with her. For the last time. So before my mother took her last breath, I told her I love her. So remember to love your loved ones. And I always remember something, and I learned this growing up with my mother. Telling your family you love them, you never can say it too much. I tell my wife, I tell my kids all the time, 2, 3, 4 times a day, I love them. Because that's how I was raised. Because my mother told us constantly that she loved us. Not only did she show it, she expressed it. And the best gift I ever had in my life was I was able to tell my mother I loved her in her final moments before God decided to take her home. So with that, I will never forget, and I will never regret telling people, my family, my friends, that I love them. I don't care if I said it 5 minutes ago. I love you. And if no one's told you today that they love you, I love you. And I know some people look and be like, how do you love people and you don't know people? Because love is what made me. My mother's love was not conditioned in no way. She just loved. And so I do my best to give people the same love I was raised up upon, because it can change somebody's life. You can meet someone that's never had somebody to tell them that they love them, and it changes their life. So remember that. Never judge a book by its cover. Treat people with the utmost respect and love and respect, because they will always remember you. Because people to this day always remembers my mother. The love and the hugs that she gave. So I thank you all for letting me have a story time to remember my beautiful mother on this day that she's been gone for 10 years. I thank you all for letting me share her love with you all today. So, until next time, I'll see you all in a couple of days.